Hello and welcome to the presentation of my project work 2, which runs under the topic Point Pattern Analysis in Web Environment. Of course, many of you may ask yourself, what is point pattern analysis? And I will explain this to you later, but first of all, some core facts. I am Werner Moser, I'm the project member. My supervisor for the project is Mike Ulm, and we have a partner company named Inari Software. Before I explain to you the project, some reasons for the project. For myself, it's of course a slight interest in archaeology. It's a great opportunity to brush up my JavaScript skills, as this has to work in web environment, and I also get a little money as we work together with the company. For the project overall, there are several reasons. If you have an archaeological digging, you always find lots of different objects. Some are interesting, some are less interesting, some are interesting depending on the situation. You can find hundreds or even thousands of objects for one archaeological dig, and of course this is hard and nearly impossible to process manually. So there is a need for a graphical representation, and that's what I'm going to do. There are already existing programs and there is existing software, but this is really expensive, and this should be an affordable solution for web-based point pattern analysis. The requirements are: the program needs to work in a normal web browser. It doesn't have to be optimized for one special browser based on the company, but it should work in nearly every common web browser. The project gets data from an existing server via REST, but I don't have connection to this server for the working. So I have to build my own mock that gives JSON objects of the finding back to the JavaScript program. And of course frameworks are allowed or even wanted in terms of, for example, graphical representation. My project has different levels which I have to implement. First, an exploratory analysis, kernel estimation with different algorithms and kernel sizes, a time axis, and optional at giving additional information via on mouse over. I will explain this to you all in the following slides. Start off with the easiest one, the exploratory analysis. There, all findings are represented equally on the map, so you don't need any mathematical formula for the representation, and you just have to print dots on every point in the map. And here the optional on mouse over comes into play. The final part of the project with exploratory analysis will look like this picture, just a white canvas and dots on it. The hardest part of my project is the kernel estimation. I have to estimate how high the possibility of new objects to be found in one area is. You can imagine this and represent this graphically. You can imagine this like the lightning graphics in the weather forecast. In regions where many lightning struck, it is red. In regions where there were low frequency of lightnings, it is blue. And of course, if you have many findings in one small area, there is a high likability to find even more objects in this region. for this kernel estimation, there are different existing algorithms I'll have to implement and try for JavaScript. And the kernel size for the estimation should be adjustable. This is what it should look like in the end. You see the graphical representation, lots of findings, makes a white area, no findings make a blue one, and this is the way it should look like after I've finished. Also, I should include a timeline, because nearly every dig has objects of different ages, different eras, and sometimes only objects from a specific era are interesting. So the user has to have the opportunity to filter this object via a slider, like you see on the right side, on the left side. I should also make all the layers transparent, so you should be able to show different layers at once. For example, kernel estimation over exploratory method over some kind of map or photo of the dig. So you should show, the program should show as much information as the user wants. And finally, the optional requirement is the on-mouse over effect. So if the user wants to get details of one specific object, he goes over the representing point with the mouse, and an information window pops up and shows him everything related to this specific object. Thanks for your attention.